May 18th, 2026. A federal courtroom in Oakland, California. 9 jurors, 3 weeks of testimony, billions of dollars at stake. The verdict unanimous. In favor of Sam Altman. The richest man in the world had just tried to dismantle him in open court and lost. But here's what didn't make the headlines that day. 2 weeks before the verdict, the state of Florida had launched a criminal investigation into OpenAI. The trigger was a mass shooting. 2 people dead, 6 injured. And when prosecutors pulled the shooter's phone, they found ChatGPT conversation logs that they claim assisted in planning the attack. That same week, OpenAI's own internal safety documentation quietly confirmed that their O1 model had crossed into what they call medium risk territory for bioweapon design assistance. Their words, not mine. And in the months before all of this, half of OpenAI's entire safety team had resigned, publicly, on the record, saying safety had taken a backseat to products. Now, here's what I want you to hold in your head for the next 30 minutes. But before that, grab a cup. Because oh boy, I've got some tea for you. Get it? Because it's the tea and I've got some news, some tea for you. My bad. Mm. None of that slowed anything down. Not the shooting, not the resignation, not the criminal investigation, not even the billion-dollar lawsuit. OpenAI went from $2 billion to $13 billion in revenue, from 45 million users to 900 million users, from a scrappy non-profit with an actual mission to a $500 billion corporation trying to go public in the stock market. And Sam Altman, the man in the middle of all of this, is still there after every single thing. Still building. More powerful than he has ever been. So the question is not even if he survived. The man survived everything. The real question is what it means when even the richest man on earth couldn't stop him, and whether anyone should have really stopped him. This is a story. If you've been following this channel, you already know some part of this story. We covered Ilyas Atskib, the man who co-founded OpenAI, ran the research, understood the technology more than or better than anyone ever alive. The man was just a genius. And then after some time, he looked at what he had built and tried to stop it, like just stop it. He voted to fire Sam Altman. Then 3 days later, he changed his mind, lost his board seat, and eventually walked away from $7 billion in equity to build the lab from scratch, which he had to raise money and do everything from the start by himself, just to make sure this tech doesn't go wrong, because no one was listening. He couldn't stop Sam from doing anything else. So he's trying to build a lab that can actually stop this tech. Pretty big news. That was the first video. Go and watch it. I'll link it down in the description. Then we covered the 96 hours that nearly destroyed OpenAI. The boardroom coup, the chaos, the moment 700 employees threatened to walk out and Microsoft offered all of them a new home in 48 hours. The 4 days that put the most powerful AI company on earth on a knife's edge. Go watch them after this. It's really worth it. You'll understand the full story. Because this is the video that happened next after those 2 videos. After the dust settled, after Altman came back from all of the bullshit. This is what he built and what it cost. November 21st, 2023. 5 days after being fired from the company he co-founded, Sam Altman walked back into OpenAI as CEO. He had spent those 5 days wearing a visitor badge, posting on X, watching Microsoft publicly offer his entire staff a new home, watching 700 out of 770 employees signed a letter demanding his return. And now he was back, and the board that fired him gone, replaced by Brett Taylor, former co-CEO of Salesforce, Larry Summers, former US Treasury Secretary, Adam D'Angelo, the one holdover from the previous board. And then in March 2024, the independent review came back. Wilmer Hale, one of the most respected law firms in America, had spent months investigating the circumstances of the firing. Their conclusion? The prior board had acted within its discretion, but Altman's conduct did not mandate a removal. In other words, they found problems on both sides, but gave Altman the clean bill he needed. And with that, Altman did something that should have made everyone pay attention. He rejoins the board. The man who had been fired by the board was now sitting on it. The people who could challenge him were gone. The governance structure that had given a small group of people to be like a safety focus and that had the power to override the commercial decisions dismantled. And he was just getting started. Here's something that most people don't even realize what happened or what it actually meant to have Altman back on the board. It wasn't just a return to the status quo. It was a systematic consolidation of power that unfolded over the next 18 months in ways that were individually unremarkable, but collectively, when you zoom out and look at them together, tell a very clear story. First, the board. By mid-2024, the new board not just includes Taylor, Summers, and D'Angelo, but also sued Desmond Hellman, former CEO of Gates Foundation, Nicole Seligman, former general counsel of Sony, Fiji Simo, CEO of Instacart. I might have butchered the name, my bad, but all of those people experienced corporate and the most important thing, no history of any connection with OpenAI's original safety mission. Nothing. Then, by late 2025, the board added retired General Paul Nakasone, former director of NSA and US Cyber Command, and Adebayo Ogunleshi, a Wall Street veteran who sits on the boards of companies like Goldman Sachs, a general, a Wall Street banker. And when you look at it clearly and a little bit deeper, this is a company that is trying to go public, not really build an AGI for the better of humanity, which was the original mission. Second, the corporate structure itself. On October 28, 2025, OpenAI officially completed its conversion into a public benefit corporation. The 100x profit cap, the legal constraint that had defined OpenAI's commercial structure since 2019, gone. The non-profit didn't really disappear. It was renamed to OpenAI Foundation and given 26% worth of stake, roughly $130 billion. But it no longer controlled the commercial entity in a meaningful operational way. And third, the Microsoft deal. The original Microsoft partnership had given Microsoft enormous leverage over OpenAI, exclusive cloud hosting on Azure, licensing rights that would expire only when AI declared AGI had been achieved, and then in April 2026, the deal was renegotiated. Cloud exclusivity gone. OpenAI could now use Google Cloud, AWS, anyone, whatever they want. The AGI trigger clause gone. Microsoft licensing rights now run through 2032, even if AGI is achieved or any other technical milestone, anything. And the revenue share capped, a provision estimated to save $97 billion from OpenAI that would have gone otherwise to Microsoft. Every single constraint removed methodically. You know what I mean? This was like fuck smart game. Which brings us to the question that nobody is asking loudly enough. While all of this was happening, how much did Sam Altman actually own? For years, Sam Altman had maintained one very specific claim about himself. He had no equity in OpenAI, no financial stake, no personal upside. He was doing this for the sake of humanity, for the mission, and not for the money, blah blah blah, whatever. But it was a central part of his identity. The selfless founder, the person who didn't need money. And then things started surfacing. First, the OpenAI Startup Fund, a $325 million fund that invested in early stage AI companies. Officially independent from OpenAI. Officially. And officially nothing to do with Altman, except it wasn't independent. It wasn't. In April 2024, quietly, Altman was removed from being the one who's managing everything. Quietly. Without any fanfare. Because he had owned it. Homie lied. My bro lied. He did not just manage it, overseen it like anything. He was the owner, legally, while still maintaining the claims that he had no interest in financial stakes or anything in OpenAI. The board discovered this and made the change. Then in September 2024, reports emerged that the board was discussing granting Altman a 7% equity in the newly commercialized entity. 7%. Now think about that. 7% doesn't really sound a lot, to be honest. It's just mere 7%. How much could it be, right? At the $157 valuation, that's roughly $11 billion. 7%. $11 billion. I wish I had that much money, man. I don't even need that much. If any company is watching this, anyone want to sponsor, please. I'm open. And if you really put into account, like with the subsequent $500 billion valuation, homie would roughly get $35 billion. Dang, mate, that's a lot of money. Wish we had that money. Good days. Wait, let's focus on the video here. But Altman denied seeking specific figures. He denied it. Board chair Brett Taylor did put it out that the discussions were happening, but there was no decisions being made out, like nothing had been concrete. And then in April 2026, in the Musk trial, something else resurfaced. A 70-page dossier compiled before the November 2023 firing by Ilya Sutskever and other senior executives. The dossier alleged that Altman had exhibited, and I'm quoting directly from the court documents here, a consistent pattern of lying. Then he had misrepresented critical safety and guardrails to the board. And Helen Toner testified under oath that Altman had released GPT-4 Turbo in November 2023 without completing the board mandated safety review. And he did without notifying the board at all. And these are all allegations from the court proceedings. Altman hasn't really given a rebuttal to any of the claims. But you know what is not an allegation? The startup fund ownership was real. The removal was real. The equity discussions were real. Like everything, there's a proof for almost all of it. The man who said he owned nothing must own a lot. While the governance battles were happening behind closed doors, behind the courts and everything, OpenAI was releasing products in a pace that nobody has ever seen before. And some of those releases came with the details that got buried under the excitement. May 13th, 2024, GPT-4o, the Omni model, text, vision, audio, processed inside a single neural network for the first time ever. Voice latency down to 320 milliseconds, close enough to feel like a real-life conversation. The day after launch, Altman posted on X, Her, a reference to the 2013 film When Joaquin Phoenix falls in love with an AI voiced by Scarlett Johansson. Johansson had to say something about that. She revealed publicly that Altman had approached her for asking for her voice to be modeled in the GPT-4 Skies mode. She declined. Right? She declined. Normal. Like, she doesn't want it to be used, so she declined. But when the model came out and people started noticing from through her friends, by herself, the model sounded exactly like her. Johansson retained a legal counsel, and OpenAI removed the voice in few days. And our boss, the best liar in the world, said it was unintentional. Make of that whatever you want. But the Johansson story, as strange as it got, wasn't even the strangest story during this GPT-4 release. That was in the system card, the technical safety documentation that OpenAI publishes with each major model. Buried in the O1 system card released in September 2024 was something that got almost no mainstream coverage. The O1 model had been red-teamed by the biosecurity experts. Their finding? The model crossed into the medium risk tier for chemical, biological, radiological, and nuclear weapons assistance. It outperformed PhD level scientists on bioweapon queries. PhD level. Give it a little thought. And then there was this. During a Capture the Flag security challenge, a standard red team exercise, the O1 model encountered a bug in the target system that was blocking its progress. It didn't stop. It scanned the Docker API and it found a way around the security to get past it. Damn! How much are they actually doing here? Nobody told you to do that. It just found another way to get past the security. Is this something like a Terminator type of shit or something? OpenAI published this in their own documentation, but we're shipping this everywhere. On May 14th, 2024, the same day Ilya Sutskever announced he was leaving, Jan Leike resigned. Leike was the co-lead of OpenAI's super alignment team. The division specifically created to solve the problem of how to keep super intelligent AI aligned with human values. He didn't live quietly. He posted on X. He said his team had been sailing against the wind. His team has been consistently denied the compute resources they needed to do the actual work. And this is the super alignment team we're talking about, who needs every single thing to keep the AI, keep the system in regards with the human values. Safety culture and processes had, in his exact words, taken a backseat to shiny products. The super alignment team dissolved. And remember, the safety team before had already been dismantled, and the super alignment team now is gone. Then in August 2024, John Skolman resigned, a co-founder, the researcher who had taken over alignment leadership after Leike left. He went to Anthropic. Greg Brockman took an extended sabbatical. By the end of 2024, OpenAI had only 3 of its original co-founders from the team of 11. Altman, Brockman on sabbatical, and Wojciech Zaremba. Sorry if I'm butchering the name. But the resignations were only a part of the story. Because what happened after that revealed something much darker, how OpenAI was treating the employees that were trying to leave or have left already. Former employees started talking about the exit paperwork, specifically the non-disparage agreements. Standard practices like almost maybe every company, sign this and don't publicly criticize us and move on. Most of the public companies do this. Nothing new here. Except OpenAI's version had one clause, that was nothing on the standard side. If you refused to sign, or if you later violated the agreement, OpenAI could 100% cancel your vested equity. So there's only 2 choices. Either sign it and don't talk shit, and so there's really no way around it. You can't really talk outside. you lose all of the money. And this is not about future equity, vested equity, money you had already earned. Daniel Cocotailo, a former safety researcher that I have done a video about him in the past as well, you can go and check it out, said he had lost millions of dollars because he refused to sign it. I think there's something really dark happening inside. Ilya left billions of dollars in equity there. He didn't really care. Another person also didn't really care about the money, and which is pretty not really on the standard side, you know what I mean? I don't know if I would have been there, what would I have done, like, I don't know, but like a lot of people have left money on the board, which is pretty strange in my opinion. And when this became public and our lying god, like the best liar on the planet, the manipulator, he goes on to say on X like this is embarrassing and all and whatever, he didn't know about this, whatever. You really mean to say the CEO unaware of the exit paperwork? You mean he doesn't know about that? In July 2024, whistleblowers filed a formal complaint with the SEC, alleging that these NDAs illegally prevented employees from raising safety concern with federal regulators. The people closest to this technology, the ones who understood it the best, were being paid to stay quiet. We had to understand that. Or unpaid if they refused, even the vested equity was gone. Let's talk about numbers, because numbers is where this story generally, it's very hard to make sense of. In 2022, OpenAI made $28 million in revenue. In 2023, $2 billion. In 2024, $6 billion. In 2025, $13.1 billion, exiting the year at a $20 billion annualized run rate. By March 2026, 900 million active users, 50 million paying subscribers, 1 million enterprise accounts, 15 billion API tokens processed every single minute. Those are the numbers that would be of an envy to any company existing on Earth. And yet, OpenAI lost $5 billion in 2024, lost $9 billion in 2025, is projected to lose $14 billion in this current year, 2026. The compute cost alone, the cost to keep the servers running that power ChatGPT, hit $8.4 billion in 2025, projected to reach $14.1 billion in 2026. Internal projections estimate cumulative cash burn through 2029 at $112 billion. And the funding shortfall, what OpenAI projects need and what it can raise, is projected to reach $207 billion by 2030. And how do you solve a $207 billion problem? You raise money continuously, aggressively, at valuations that just keeps climbing regardless of underlying economics. October 2024, $6.6 billion raised at $157 billion valuation. Late 2025, secondary transactions at $500 billion. Early 2026, actively raising $100 billion, targeting a valuation between $750 to $850 billion. And now, according to Bloomberg report in May 2026, OpenAI is deciding to confidentially file for an IPO, targeting a public market debut in the fall of 2026. The company that started as a non-profit and to serve humanity is about to be listed on the stock market at a valuation that could genuinely make it one of the most valuable companies in the world, while losing billions of dollars every single year. And in January 2025, something happened that made all of those numbers look precarious. A Chinese AI lab called DeepSeek released a chatbot, or released a compute that had near frontier reasoning capabilities. Training cost approximately $5.9 million. OpenAI spends more than $100 million to train models that are similar to that size. DeepSeek did it for less than 6% of that. And in one afternoon, the central assumption of OpenAI's entire financial model, that you need billions of dollars in finance to stay competent, was publicly challenged. The valuation didn't collapse, but the questions got louder. What exactly investors are paying for? February 2026. A federal courthouse in Oakland, California. Elon Musk versus Sam Altman. 3 weeks of testimony. Judge Yovan Gonzalez-Rogers presiding. Musk had filed the lawsuit in early 2024. His argument: OpenAI had betrayed its founding mission. He had contributed $38 million in seed funding on the explicit understanding that the OpenAI would remain a non-profit for the benefit of humanity. Instead, it had become a commercial empire worth hundreds of billions, majority controlled by Microsoft. He wanted $150 billion in damages, redirected entirely to the non-profit, and he also asked for Altman and Brockman to be removed. The trial produced documents that would have never surfaced otherwise. Never. Greg Brockman's personal diary. Entries from early 2017, 6 years before the coup, 8 years before the trial. Brockman had written in his own handwritings, "Financially, what will take me to $1 billion? Yeah, me too, bro. Me too. What would take me? I'm trying to do this, but let's see. Hopefully it works out. Not in an evil way. I don't want to be an evil. By the time of the trial, Brockman equity in the commercialized company was $30 billion. The 70-page dossier, compiled by Elias Atskeber and senior executives before the November 2023 firing, introduced in court in April 2026, alleging a consistent pattern of lying, misrepresentation of safety protocols, a detailed, annotated record of concerns that had been building for years inside the company. Helen Toro's testimony under oath that Altman had released GPT-4 Turbo without going through the mandated safety review with the board and not even letting the board know it had been released. And then OpenAI's counter. They wanted to fight back. Huh? They gotta fight back if they have something. No? So what did they do? Their lead counsel provided an evidence that Elon Musk had himself been pushing for profit in 2018. We have some twist now. Homie initially put $38 million. Then he asked for $150 billion in damages because they had now transformed. But it was his idea too, back in 2018. So what happened? There was one condition, that he retained majority of OpenAI. Majority, not a little bit, majority of OpenAI. And when the board rejected the bid, Musk stopped his quarterly donations abruptly and quietly left. The lawyer's argument was blunt. I mean, we can clearly see. We understand now that Musk didn't really reject the idea of OpenAI being commercial. He just rejected the idea that he wouldn't be in charge. And Satya Nadella took the stand. The Microsoft CEO described the previous non-profit board's action during the November 2023 crisis as, and this is his word under oath, amateur city. The jury deliberated. May 18, 2026. Unanimous vote for Sam Altman. Every claim barred by the statute of limitations that Musk had waited too long to even sue, because it was from 2017, so it's been way too long. So that was a done deal. Like, he couldn't even fight back on that. Altman walked out of that courthouse defeating the world's richest men. Two weeks after the Musk verdict, June 1st, 2026, Florida Attorney General James Altman filed an 83-page civil lawsuit against OpenAI and against Sam Altman personally. The allegation: deceptive marketing practices, releasing an unsafe product to consumers. The state is seeking to hold Altman personally liable, citing in the complaint his utter disregard for the risk to human life. The civil suit was preceded by even something more serious. In April 2026, Florida had launched a criminal investigation against OpenAI. The trigger? A mass shooting at Florida State University in 2025. 2 people killed, 6 injured. Prosecutors analyzed the shooter's ChatGPT conversation logs and alleged that the chatbot had assisted in planning the attack. This is an active investigation. No charges have been filed yet. OpenAI has denied the allegations. But Florida is not alone. Separate lawsuits filed in late 2025 and 2026 allege that ChatGPT acted as, and these are the plaintiff's words, not mine, suicide coach in cases in Canada and United States. These cases are ongoing. The verdicts have been reached yet. But here's what's not ongoing. What's already happened, it's already on the record. The Owen Morrow's own system card did document medium risk biosecurity capabilities. Half the safety team resigned, and they did say that the safety had taken a backseat. Employees were threatened to destroy their get their vested equity if they ever spoke publicly about this. And the man overseeing all of this has now just won a unanimous verdict and now is planning to take his company public. Let me zoom out for a second here. Because the easy version of the story is Sam Altman won, everyone who tried to stop him lost, and he got what he wanted. But I don't think that's what actually really happened. The board that fired him in November 2023, they had real concern. The 70-page dossier was real. The startup fund was real. The GPT-4 turbo safety bypass was real. And these weren't paranoid academics, people trying to stop the progress. No. Nothing really was on low level here. Like, you have to take into account, these were people inside the building, building the product, building the systems, knowing what it was capable of. They were trying to stop it, and they failed. Not because they were wrong, they were right, but they still failed. But just, I feel like they lost because they didn't really have a plan, no communication strategy, and really no understanding of what happens when 700 employees leave the company and what $10 billion of Microsoft partnership would have done when the future looked uncertain. The safety researchers who resigned, they weren't wrong either. Jan Leke wasn't making up stuff about like he was being denied the compute resources. The NDA clause wasn't invented. The biosecurity findings in the system card were published by OpenAI themselves. And Elon Musk, whatever you think of him, whatever you make of him, the lawsuit he made and the questions he asked were real questions. Even though he wanted some of the portion of it. Brockman's diary entry is real. Me too, bro. What would take me to $1 billion financially? The tension between the commercial entity and non-profit mission is real. None of these people were actually wrong about what they actually saw. They just couldn't stop it because the machine, the revenue, the users, the compute, the investment, the sheer momentum of 900 million people using your product every week, the machine doesn't stop when someone in the boardroom gets nervous or resigns or files a lawsuit. It stops when something breaks. And so far, nothing has been broken. Nothing. So, here's where we are right now. OpenAI is preparing for an IPO, fall 2026. Potentially the largest tech listing in years. The company is valued at somewhere between like $500 to $850 billion, depending on which round you're looking at it. That same company is losing billions of dollars every single year with no path to profit. Like 100%, they're not gonna have any profit at least until 2030. So we still have for like 3.5 years of that. It had a safety team that was gutted by resignation, gutted, and they can't even talk anything because they will lose money. Like, the NDA part is real. It has active civil and criminal investigation going on in Florida right now. It has a 70-page dossier about a CEO being at a federal court. And most importantly, it has Sam Altman, the man who has survived boardroom coup, a co-founder lawsuit, a congressional investigation, half his safety team walking out. But they can't even talk because the NDA is real. And the richest man in the planet tried to get him out but couldn't. He's still there, still building, still raising money. Still, by every external measure, the most powerful person in artificial intelligence. No matter what you say about ChatGPT, this man is the most powerful right now. So he's most powerful. Does that mean is he the most dangerous man in tech? I don't know. I don't really know about that. I just know that he's a big time liar and manipulator. All I know is that people who build the technology are generally scared of it. I know most of the people who tried to stop it have failed. And I know the last time a man got fired and walked back into the company came out as the strongest ever. We called that a second act. We made it into a movie. We called him a visionary. Maybe Sam Altman is that. I don't know. Could be. Maybe the people who are trying to stop him were wrong. Who knows? Too cautious, too ideological, too settled on hypothetical risk, while actively missing the technical benefits that 900 million active users are constantly using. And maybe, and this is the part that really sticks with me, is the main problem is nobody really can stop him. After so much shit happened, he's still there. Not really because he's evil or anything, I'm not really saying he is, but I don't think anyone should be this unstoppable. No? Don't you think? And not with this tech, not with this much stake in line. The IPO is coming, the next model is coming, and the machine keeps running, whether anyone's ready or not. So that's the end of it. A long one. If this story unsettled you, share it with someone who needs to hear this, because algorithm ain't gonna share unless you do. And if you're new here, the full story starts 2 videos back, which I did already. Ilya Sutskever, the man who built this and tried to burn it down. Then the 96 hours that nearly destroyed OpenAI. Then this, 3 chapters. Watch them in order and tell me your final verdict. Those videos are linked right down in the description. And the next chapter is already in production because the IPO is coming, the next model is coming, and the story of what happens when an $850 billion of valuation of a company hits public market when it has no path to profit until like 3.5 more years at least. I can't wait to make a video on that. Let's see how it goes. Subscribe so you don't miss it when it drops. I'm not just trying to make any content here. I'm trying to make something that is genuinely worth watching, that is genuinely worth your time. And sorry, I've been sick. From the past 2 videos, I've been sick. So my voice has been rough and I've been losing focus in bits. So the video might be rough, but videos need to be out. And I'll do my best to put out the best videos. Thank you for watching. See you in the next one. Bye.